How's it going, summoners, and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. From too broken to be open to too open to be broken. Unless you're ready for the truth. Champions aren't only banned to their strength, people rather resort to emotional bans as they don't want to see a certain champion ever again. Also, any content creator's tier list heavily influences what the region is playing. So for today, you're getting a no-cap version of champions that are always open, but at the same time, sometimes really broken. Let's start with an all-time star champion, Akali. This champion lost a lot of her former glory, but her base stats are still ridiculously overtuned. Even if you kill her once or twice from levels 1 to 4, you're still going to be in a massive danger once she hits level 5. Especially when you're playing a carry champion such as an Akshan or a typical mage, you're very susceptible to her all-in. But what do you have to do early on? As an Akali, you normally want to stay rather passive early on, as your primary goal is to preserve resources as well as possible. While doing so, you're looking for favorable trades that once you're level 3 can really change the lane. Being able to hit a full combo onto an enemy while weaving in autos and hiding in your shroud can really feel toxic. If you want to put some more emphasis on that toxicity, you're more than welcome to try this first item on her. In solo queue, it's without a doubt in my mind the best first item you can ask for. Lichbane just adds too much power to her ideal trading pattern and lets her increase her damage even more. The funniest thing though is that even with just the sheen, it's a major game changer. Adding 100% of your base AD to your auto attacks during the early game is absolutely nuts. Combining this with the way your passive works and your overall trading pattern, you're hitting Fiora levels of annoyingness. And before we continue with the video, it's time for a question of the day. Who is in your opinion the most underrated champion in the game? Let me know in the comments below. Right after this champion comes another one that is quite often underestimated. However, he got some time in the spotlight after people discovered that he's a pretty nice pick against Zed. He is slippery and deadly while dealing very interesting amounts of damage in the meantime. You're also able to build 3 different starting items: Luden's Echo, Lichbane and Rabadon's Deathcap. Luden's Echo provides you with the most ability haste and adds a nice bonus to your mana pool and overall damage. Lichbane on the other hand grants you more power in extended trades as you're able to space out your spells to then gain more damage. This is especially insane once you've used the early Sheen purchase. Other than that, you have the classic Rabadon's Rush, which is the most expensive purchase, but also the item that grants you the highest increase in burst damage. But now let's talk about his strength during laning. Against a melee champion, Fizz can start with his second ability. Getting a minion kill with it being active instantly resets its cooldown. What many people don't know about this ability is that it deals splash damage while also applying Fizz's passive overtime effect to all targets hit. Now imagine you can cast this ability a few times thanks to minions dying, and yeah, really cool mechanic. Did you get bored of a stale Baron lane meta? No problem, we got the right up and coming pick for you. It's disgustingly broken and gets tons of attack damage with just tank items. Dr. Mundo is an absolute machine after his rework and is now able to take over games with ease. His best item to rush is Sunfire Aegis, as it grants him the highest amount of health in combination with damage and ability haste. But now let's talk about the crazy stuff. During his second ability, Heart Zapper, he can heal up to 45% of the damage taken, within a period of course. But by far the craziest thing about him is the amount of attack damage he gains from just bonus health alone. He gains 30 to 60 AD from his third ability, and his ultimate converts 7% of his bonus health into raw AD. Who needs damage items, am I right? So just imagine this beefy guy running at your team while you're trying to burst him, and all he has to do is press his second ability and heal up. And all of you know that nobody on your team is going to buy anti-healing, it's solo queue after all. Another nice thing about this character is his ability to farm safely from range without putting himself at too much risk. Thanks to those cleavers, Mundo has also the ability to poke the enemy laner once they step out of line. Hitting those can really hurt as they deal a boatload of damage, so it's not really rare to see Mundo at the top of the damage charts at the end of the game anyway. You don't see her, but she'll kill you. The WildRift rules are clear: if a champion isn't visible, the champion doesn't exist. Therefore, people will die. This statement cannot be any more true for Evelynn, as she's still one of the most obnoxious champions to deal with. Yet people don't play her too much. Why though? Evelynn can easily do a 4-cam clear before Scuttle spawns and has access to one of the most insane items in the game. Due to her first ability, she is more or less spamming spells. Doing so enables her to buy Lichbane as a first item compared to a typical Rabadon. The Lichbane offers a broader variety of stats and gives her a chance to run Conqueror on top of that as well, which makes her an interesting DPS machine. Usually people also see Evelynn as a one-dimensional burst assassin, but what if she's able to do more and exactly that early on? Fighting melee champions can be troublesome at some times. But what about using exactly that to your advantage? Your first ability's range is quite decent and its damage is not to be underestimated. Then if you mix in the Lichbane and the Conqueror on top, you're in for some interesting fights. If you don't believe in the Conqueror though, you're more than welcome to stick to the typical Electrocute. And here's your game plan. Farm to level 5 as fast as possible and then terrorize the map with your stealth. But don't forget to farm your camps. This is one of the reasons why Evelynn players fall off so unbelievably hard. They coin flip ganks that don't achieve anything and therefore ruin their own economy. Find a balance between those ganks and your farming adventures. Don't get lost in doing just one of those, you need both. This champion is open every single game and people have no idea how to play against him. They always fall for the same old trick. Singed walks into the lane and then just casually farms it. Obviously he's going to have a better push if he's not contested. He's a melee champion that has an area of effect damage over time effect and obviously his normal attacks. Naturally he's going to push a wave really fast. But here's the real kicker. He can barely do anything against any champion level 1, unless they grant him the ability to safely approach the wave and then shove it. By doing so he is granted an accelerated level 2 which enables him to fling you into the minions and his poison. If that happens to you while you're still level 1, you're most likely going to die. And if you want to be that singed, here's something you need to understand. Leashing for your jungler will most of the time lose your lane. Since your champion doesn't have any agency in lane in most likely all matchups, it's going to be very hard if you're forced to play from behind. With that said, let me share a secret with you. Once Singed hits level 5, he becomes an entirely different champion. Suddenly he's tanky, fast and deadly at the same time. And if you want to be the most terrifying Singed though, here's something you have to consider. Don't ever buy Haunting Guys to sit on it, rather complete the entire Liandry's Torment. With that you have the most damage in a teamfight, but you lack utility. To avoid the lack of utility though, most Singed players rush Rylai's Crystal Scepter. The item itself isn't the best as it could receive a buff in my opinion. For that they could just increase the slow from 20 to 30% and the item would be so much better and at least on similar levels than Evolved Red buff. Anyway, if you pick this champion, you're not doing so for winning lane. You want to take over the map. This champion's true power unlocks the moment you're getting into teamfight territory. The utility in the form of slowing the enemy team while continuously applying the damage over time effect make up for a deadly combo. Give it a shot and let me know how it went. Last but not least comes a champion that a lot of players, including content creators, severely underestimate in the context of the solo queue environment. Ignoring terms such as weak and strong side and just viewing the lane as a purely isolated matchup, this champion is beyond crazy. You would probably never guess the champion I'm talking about, so let's just call him by name. It's Teemo. This little yordle is a dangerous fellow. Compared to League PC, his level 1 on WildRift is quite scary. In WildRift he has his passive on-hit bonus damage, including the damage over time effect as a passive ability. That means he's able to have the bonus damage as well as a blind on level 1. If that wasn't enough, there's also a unique interaction with the first item you're going to buy. Liandry's Torment triggers off your passive ability. That ability deals damage over 4 seconds and Liandry's adds a burn for 3 seconds on top. So whenever you attack an enemy just once, he's going to burn for 7 seconds, which means any melee champion should be concerned about his life. Unless your name is Fiora, then nothing really applies, but the usual call for J is to get nerfed. And that's not all. Due to limited access to vision and vision control in WildRift, his shrooms can turn into quite the troublemakers as they're providing vision and control around objectives, pathways and anything you want to enter, while on top of that, dealing damage. And that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. For those of you who want more RiftGuides content, feel free to check out our Patreon. We have a lot of bonus stuff for all the people that want to get better at WildRift. See you there, or when it's time for another RiftGuides WildRift video.